Hello, everybody.
Hi.
How's it going this morning?
Well, for me, it's going well, and I see lots of people in chat.
Yeah, there's
So,
a couple.
yeah,
Hello,
Stig's
everybody.
here, Pierre's here,
Uh-huh.
SP3D is here,
Whoa.
3D Print Newbie Milan is here. Did I miss anyone?
What happens when 3D print newbie's been printing for a year
Oh,
and he's not
Dominic's here.
3D print any newbie anymore? You know what I'm saying?
Maybe he'll try something newbie.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, Vince is here too. Bonjour.
Hey, Vince.
That's that's the extent of my French, Vince. You've nailed it. Bonjour. Oh, and I can ask if you speak French, which is a really useless skill to have when you don't speak French. I hear your phone, Greg, I think.
I don't think so because I don't have any sound
Okay.
on my phone.
I just heard splashback. I'm sure it's not anything they can hear, so.
Okay.
Anyway, we made it. It's Sunday and we're happy. And we're trying something new today. So we might ask a few times throughout the stream how it looks, how it feels. Um, we're pushing, well, for lack of a better term, we're running the stream on a supercomputer. I could give you the specs of the supercomputer, but it would make you cry. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, we thought we'd try something a little different today. See if it was a processing power issue, and so hopefully it's nice and smooth.
yeah, and I mean, thank you to all of you that came out on the Tuesday live stream that I did to test the other computers' um, streaming capabilities. That was really good, and thank you for coming out. Um, yeah, so as you know, I'm sure as you are all aware, that we had some issues with latency, like last
Yeah.
week.
Yeah, and the week before was really bad. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and so we just want to see what we can do about it. So Greg,
Yes,
we we got big news. We did a thing.
we did a thing, and we've got to welcome Stig is our first Patreon member.
Hooray! I don't have a thing for it, but hooray!
Hey! So thank you for joining us on Patreon. We're still working out some bugs. It was supposed to automatically add you to the Patreon Discord, but it hasn't yet. So we're just trying to figure that out.
Yeah,
So
it might have. One of the working theories here is it might have sent you an email, like it
yeah,
re-invited you. So, because in theory that's what it's supposed to do. So if you
yeah,
guys are on our okay, so there's several pieces to this announcement, and the first has nothing to do with Patreon. If you are on our Discord, we didn't shut the general channel down.
no,
So we've
we've made you legacy members.
yes, shall we say we've grandfathered everyone in. We don't want to exclude you, but the one thing we did do as well is if you are not a member of our Discord, now the Discord's available through the Patreon account. So if you were there before, you get to stay. Yay! And
And then we've also added on the top tier that we can do voice chatting with you if on the top tier of Patreon. So
yeah, so I'm just gonna fire over a screen share. Um, hey man, we appreciate you, Stig. We appreciate all of you, not just Stig, but shout out to Stig this morning. Um, and the real, the reason for the Patreon is not because like we want to make this a career, but we
yeah,
are,
we're not looking to be millionaires because we know that's not going to happen.
but we do need some things per se, and this morning's stream may prove that we need certain things to provide really good content, and one is not crappy video cards. I think,
You
right?
no more used computers. Is that what you're trying to say, David?
Yeah, we might actually have to break down and like not get it at like the Goodwill. So just gonna grab my screen share here, y'all. Hey Ben, how's it
Hey
going?
Ben.
Um, so once I find
Hey
the button
hey
that says screen
hey
share.
Cam.
Oh yeah, hey Cam. Man, I'm doing bad at reading that. So this is kind of what our Patreon page looks like, and I just wanted to explain a few things. First is we know this graphic sucks. We're working on it. It'll probably change today. But this graphic, Greg, at the top,
Yes.
this is sentimental.
Isn't that your first print on the SX4?
It is. This was the very first print on my SX or Stacy's SX4 once we got it set up there.
You call it Stacy's, but we know the
She
truth.
bought it. I just run it for her. But yeah, so it's printing, and it's printing one of my favorite prints, and not because it's Calicat, but because it's Calicat this big on a build plate that's like 500 by 500. So it's something small on a giant build plate. So I just wanted to really quickly, you'll see here that Discord comes with all of the tiers in Patreon, and we have different levels. And we are going to be doing like a once a month sort of live stream, just Patreon. And we're wrapping our heads around that one right now. It could be a hangout instead of a live stream.
Yeah, we're going to work out the details, and we'll chat with you guys in Discord and figure out what the best way to do that is.
Yeah.
And then the bonus digital content and stuff, we were discussing that this morning too.
Yeah, so there's a few things. We're not going to put our firmware files and stuff like that.
Holy cow, Stig!
Thanks, Stig, buddy. You the best. You the best.
Well, I think I'll buy some more of these. No, not a sponsor.
I was gonna say we just got demonetized. No, I'm just kidding. Not a sponsor, but we are fueled by. The voice chat's in the top tier for the Patreon right now. That's just something that we're gonna do maybe once a week. Pop into some voice stuff, but the Discord benefits are for chat are for all of them. And the only other thing, like I said, is we'll probably move we'll bump the, where is it, Greg? I can't, there it is. This one I think we'll add here too, in the middle. So just so you guys know, well, coffee is the most important meal of the day. It totally is. I'll one up that. Caffeine is the most important meal of the day. My coffee cup is with me this morning in spirit. See, it's just not full. It's empty. It's sad. I am doing Lent, and pop is one thing I will not. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. It's sad to hear that you can't have pop right now. But so we did a few things this week, Greg. We did a few things. We put out a video on a live stream on Tuesday the intent was pins.
Hi, Ray.
Hey, Ray's here. I gotta ask Ray a question. Once I remember the question, I'm gonna ask Ray. But we did. It was supposed to be pins, but what it turned out into is pretty much let's configure Marlin and then look at pins after. So it was a sizable long live stream, about an hour and 10 minutes.
I was doing trigonometry with my son.
Cos 10 and the other one. Sine.
Yeah. Sakatoa.
So we did that, and then we came out with the arc welding video that we were talking about coming out with this week, and we did it. And I wanted to share. Shall we say share? Or I wanted to explain. That's a better word. So, if you guys had a chance to watch the arc welding video, we went into the G code files to basically compare them, file to file. Fun fact: Norwegian is only beaten by Finnish people when it comes to coffee consumptions per capita. I drink 2.5 liters a day.
Whoa, that's
That's
pretty good.
it's a good amount of coffee. I think I got you beat with Coke though.
Oh, you probably drink like 3 liters of Coke a day.
Mm-hmm. Easy. While asleep, however much is in there, right? We're gonna math this. I wanna know now. 10 times 6. 4.26 liters. Thank you. Anyway, we jumped in to view the G code to analyze the difference between the two, and this is why. I'm gonna get this picture up here for us all. So, on the left hand side of my screen share, you can see Benchy, and on the right hand side of the screen share, you can see Benchy. And I'm just gonna maybe zoom in a bit, and then we can slide around. So this is the left hand side, and you can see here that we have kind of a circle here, kind of, right? And then you've got
Right.
this. Okay, now this is the original Benchy without being arc welded. Okay, so there's no arc welding in here. This is the original file. This is the arc welding file. They're exactly the same, friends. Exactly the same. Now, why is that? I could tell you why, but why do you think? Why do you think they're exactly the same?
Well, they're both a benchy.
Right, they're both a benchy, and the intent of arc welder is not to change the shape of your G code. It is to change how the line segments get stitched together. Oh, good
So
point, Raymond.
I
Hold on. Boom. There. Sorry. I'm sharing with
yeah,
the world now. It's
see,
like,
I can't see the return video, so
yeah.
I thought it was just slow.
So let me
So I didn't say
we're do,
anything.
so sorry guys, I don't share well with others. I like to keep all my own toys. Well, I only see
Yeah,
Greg.
that's
Did I
fine.
miss something? Yes, Greg was supposed to switch his to the picture. No, I'm just kidding. Here, now it's up, guys. It's up. Sorry, guys. Laying in bed, my neck parked up. The weather is killing me this morning. Oh, geez, Ben. Is it cold again down there? Anyway, so this benchy here is the original slice. And like we were saying, like you can see arcs in it. Arcs do exist in it. Like, the D is an arc. But if I go over to this other benchy,
But really, they're tiny straight movements.
exactly. So this one is the arc welded, and you can kind of see it in the D. You can kind of see it if I zoom in enough. You can see that this D has a little wobble, like right at the top here, where the other one was a straightish segment still. Like, see how it's flatter?
Oh yeah.
So this one is using flat segmented sections with just the G1 move commands, whereas this one has been arc welded, and that's where that little dip comes in because it can move smoother along that transition. But it's very very hard, and the moral of the story is it's very hard to see the difference in a G code viewer. And again, the reason is arc welder isn't there to re-slice in a totally different geometry your model. It's just optimizing those small line segments like we drew on the picture before.
Now the bigger the object that you're about to kind of arc weld, the less you'll notice those. Like you, by going to a benchy with the small D and whatnot, it's probably more obvious to see it on something so small,
Yes.
right? Because the larger, there's so many small segments that it'd be hard to get the resolution to see the the difference.
Yeah.
But the file size is where you see the biggest difference because
Mhm.
it's not really compressing it; it's just optimizing it.
Optimizing it. And then we showed that optimization yesterday. Or not. Well, I guess it was yesterday, wasn't it? We showed that in our comparison, but here's the
Stick has a question about arc welding.
okay. Will the arc welder reduce the vibration since yes, it does.
Yeah,
Yes, it does, Stig.
so in theory, it should, if there was ringing from some weird move, that should be reduced because it's a smoother move.
Yeah, and you're not stopping. So, I mean, when you get to an edge or a corner and it has to turn around, the jerk and acceleration or junction deviation still kicks in to move that print head around,
Right.
but it will smooth all the intern movements. So, it does smooth out the print and it does make actually a noticeable difference unless you print broken benchy.
Now,
He'll still be
now
broken.
in in Marlin, like by default, it's not turned on. Correct. The arc moves. You
No,
have
you have to
you have to
define arc
enable.
support. Yeah.
So now was there two things you had to define: arc support and something else, or just
The,
arc support?
the only one you have on is define arc support. I'm just gonna really quick say this. That Benchy that we were reviewing, the two files, the one that was arc welded was 11.2 megabits, and the one that wasn't was 16.8. So it compressed it about 5 megabits.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so quite an optimization by
Yeah.
doing that.
But yeah, so the only thing you have to have in your firmware configured is ARC support, and that's why, not why, but that's where a lot of people running stock hardware get left behind.
Because it. So now, all right. So I haven't tested this. So if you don't have it configured and then you do the arc welder and then you try to print, what happens?
Bad things because your controller doesn't know how to interpolate the the ARC command, the G3.
Right.
So I shouldn't say bad things, but it won't be able to handle it. If you were running Octoprint, it would give you that M99999999999 error feedback.
So would it even attempt to start to print?
It would like because it would execute. Let me download
Some of the M1, but then what? So would it just
it.
die and quit at randomly at that point?
Yeah, as soon as it hits a line that it can't read or understand, it would be unable to interpret it, and hopefully you have, and this is a hopefully too, but once if the controller reads a line that it doesn't know, it should stop. Just throw an error and stop, and it would say print
Because
halted.
I don't think I have it enabled on. I don't think I have it enabled on the align rate yet.
Well, do you have and you have an ender with a BL Touch, right?
I do.
Well, let's find out, shall we? I'm sending Greg a file, y'all.
Okay.
This one here,
We'll do this live.
we're doing it live, so there.
Live experiment. One
I
sec.
love it.
So,
So generally speaking, you shouldn't send
is it
G
sent?
code file. I send it in Skype.
Yeah, I see it.
Yep. Generally speaking, you shouldn't print G code file from places that you don't know.
I don't trust David. So
There are rumors that Arc Welder may have trouble with tree supports. I have printed 13 hours. Dominic, that isn't a rumor. That's the truth. Don't use don't use arc welding if you have tree support. And I would go one step further. If you have a model that needs to generate a good amount of support, you probably shouldn't use arc welder. And that the reason I say that is in the tree support model, especially if you're talking like one wall, the math behind generating the tree supports is very, very complex. And it is used to reading the G1 commands to make those. And if you merge them, you could actually smooth it out too much and then the supports would fail. So it it's not a rumor. It's actually true. You probably shouldn't use arc welding with tree support. That being said, you can. The other thing we touched on, and I'm going to throw this question out to the chat because I am curious. If you use a Pi for Octoprint or Repeatia or something like that, can you pop a smiley face into the chat? And then if you use just the SD card, can you pop the winky smiley face into the chat? Or you could just say Pi or SD. That works too. It's just curious because I know for us, we use Greg and I use Pi's Octoprint. Oh, Greg answered with a smiley face. Good to know. Thanks. Hey, Dominic, you are welcome. If I may ask a question, upgrading my Ender 5 Plus with a TFT 3 version 3.0, is it normal at first to not see the Marlin mode but the big tree text screen?
So I will answer that.
Greg.
Yes, because a lot of times the default code, if you haven't updated your and configured your settings in the and compiled them for it'll default,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just have to hold you just hold down your knob and then it'll flip over. So that's this screen right here he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that's not unusual. So if you I would recommend updating it to the latest version. Going into the config file, you can change it, but using VS Code to recompile is a good thing because you can adjust all your temperatures for all your different filament. You can go in there and you can adjust your bed size and just match them up to what you have in your Marlin, and then it'll perform a lot better because in the touchscreen mode, it's actually just sending G code commands. So if you just use stock, it's pretty much set up for an Ender 3.
Mm-hmm.
So if the your Ender 5 is slightly different dimensions versus a 5 Plus, then you will want to actually reconfigure the code for the screen and get that going. But yeah, it often defaults directly to Marlin mode, and again, you just have to hold the button and it'll come up with a choice to switch between the two modes. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully that was long-winded, but hopefully it helped.
It must have because he said thank you. The other thing that you do want to make sure on is that your boot screen's on in the Marlin firmware that you flash to your controller. That's the only other gotcha. Now I know why some prints don't work with tree support. Pi user. um, so if you are using a Raspberry Pi, you want to make sure that your baud rate is set to at least 115200 in your config.h when you are making firmware. Higher the better because that's a faster speed it can transfer commands to the controller. So like I'll speak from I guess I'll speak my truth and then Greg you can speak yours. But uh, my tree supports come out really good on my Octoprint.
Oh, mine come out perfect.
Now
Yeah. Now, is it true that uh, Arc Welder doesn't like tree supports?
we just talked about that. It's true. It is true. You
I
missed the
was I was focused on something else.
he missed the whole conversation, guys.
Oh, I know. I just
I'll
not the
get.
whole
We should get.
conversation.
You know what? Dominic's gonna answer you because he asked the question. um, yes, it is true. It messes with the tree supports. Um, but as far as supports go with Raspberry Pi, I haven't had an issue now. Hopefully, you guys are running Raspberry Pi 3B pluses or better with your Octoprint instances. Just because of the processor speed, if you go down into like the two or the original, if you somehow manage to have the original Pi, kudos to you. Um, those things are hard to find nowadays.
I need to look because it hasn't failed yet. It's still printing, and so maybe I have ARC support turned on.
It could. You could always, Greg. It's time for a pop quiz. Well, he does have pop, so we could quiz him.
I think my problem is I need more caffeine.
Yeah, keep drinking, keep drinking. You could also send the G command, like just copy the one of the G3 commands and then send it without the encoder and see what the response is from the terminal. I guess I should get my butt in gear and finish setting up my Octoprint. Yeah, Ray. I mean, we talked about it last week a little bit, right? Octoprint versus like the Creality Wi-Fi box or Repeater server, and it looks like, if I'm right, Vince was using Repeater server, and then everybody else that had smiley faces and I use pies and I use both, looks like we were using Octoprint, and um, Octoprint's really good. It really is. It lets you remote manage stuff, which is a bonus. Micro
And
Swiss.
a
Mhm.
pie is really nice to have, though. Just like whether you run Octoprint on it or AstroPrint or
Mhm.
anything else, it is a nice tool to have in your 3D printing arsenal. Like whether whether you use it just for this, if you don't want to use it for this, you can use it and hook it to your TV and do something else with it.
It's
It's
true. It could run
totally
Cody really well.
yeah.
Dominic has a question ish. He says Micro Swiss all metal hot end versus dropping a titanium heat break into the Creality stock end. Thoughts? Question mark. And then he says the 3B works good. The 3B does work good. It's just if you
Yeah.
get the plus, it has the better Wi-Fi.
Well, I'm going to answer Dominic's question this way, and then you can answer whatever way you want. Um, I am actually thinking about the same thing that you're thinking of, Dominic, but I reached out to Slice Engineering because they have the
Bimetal.
new bimetal heat break, and I saw Stefan's video on the performance he got out of his, and I do want to. I'm trying to keep the mechanics fairly stock on my CR10 V2, so just switching out the heat break, I think, will make a big difference. And I can then do more exotic materials. So that's the way I'm going to go on my printer just to try it out. Now, I do have I want to go a little more exotic on some of my other printers. So we'll show those in videos. But I do think um, a bimetal heat break will perform well from what I've seen.
Yeah. So um, I run I run Micro Swiss hot ends on two of my machines, and it's important to note that the Micro Swiss, I don't believe, no, this is just me personally, but I don't think their heat sink, like the aluminum heat sink that's silver versus the red one, works any better. I think they both
No,
cool. Um,
yeah, I don't think there's a significant difference
no, the
either.
heater block that you get in the package with the Micro Swiss all metal hot blend, hot end, again, I think that the Creality heater block does the same job as that one. It's just this one, that one's pretty silver. However, and this kind of circles back to the original thought now, but the titanium heat break is where you're spending your money.
Yeah.
So, that being said, there are good replacements for the stock hot end for titanium heat breaks, um, which titanium is very, very good at keeping cool, and it is a smooth material, and that's why it's a very good material to use in your hot end, because it reduces the amount of change in temperature, and it can get things very, very hot when it gets closer to the nozzle, and then cool it off as it coming up. So it prevents clogging, unlike people that complain about it for clogging. If you are getting clogging in your all metal hot end, your retraction is wrong. Your speed is wrong and your distance is wrong. So that's what you have to change. So getting it tight, and so I agree with Greg too. Like the new Slice Engineering one, was it the Copperhead? That's
Mm,
that's the
is
heat
it?
break system.
Well,
The,
they have it's a whole system. So like it's you can get the brake, you can get everything from them.
yeah, and I
So
mean the you can get all of that, but I think all the pieces are just part of the Copperhead, and you can order the you can and theirs is bimetal, so it's a little bit different, Dominic, from a titanium because it has basically it's CNC Kitchen has a really good video, but to sum it up in a nutshell, it's two different metals heat clamped together. It's a stainless steel brake instead of a titanium, but
which transfers heat a lot. It reduces the transfer of heat quite a bit.
and so I believe they both have a good. Um, I believe they have the titanium and the bimetal both have good heat transfer and coefficient effects. Which one would I buy? I agree with Greg. I would buy the one from Slice Engineering right now.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one I'd buy.
Even like if I were to like want to replace like the whole hot end, so let's say we're looking at micro Swiss. If you're going to look at the micro Swiss direct drive extruder, I would get the whole micro Swiss system. But not to say that I've had problem with my micro Swiss. I haven't. But Slice Engineering is kind of on the cutting edge of hot ends right now. They're the company that everybody wants to be. Now there's a lot
I
of comments that went
the,
by.
well, yeah, I want to just address the Octoprint one. So the bed visualizer, I had a few plugins that I had put in first into like I was using Octodash and a few
Mm-hmm.
other
Yeah.
plugins, and I could not get Bed Visualizer to install. But as soon as I disabled or uninstalled the other plugins, I could get Bed Visualizer to install. So there is a conflict in the order that you install. Once it's installed, you can install everything else and it works. But having it install was a problem with the other plugins I had. I don't remember which one was causing the issue off the top of my head, but I did get Bed Visualizer. I fought with this for like probably 4 days, and I figured out that okay. And I ended up removing a bunch of plugins, and I want to say it was either Display Layer or Octodash itself.
The display
One
layer
of
is notorious for issues for other
Yeah,
plugins.
so if you have the display layer plugin loaded, you may want to disable that or uninstall it and then try installing Bed Visualizer, and then you can put it back. Once you put it back, like once you get Bed Visualizer installed, you can then put it back and it works fine. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's most likely a collision on two of the plugins, which is causing it not to install.
I'm just gonna flip to my screen share quick. So Greg is completely right in his answer. in your, I'm just showing the Octoprint dashboard here. If you click the settings here and you go down to the,
Uh-oh, we're buffering.
you shouldn't be. Yeah, experience issue there is back. So see, it's not the supercomputer. It's the bandwidth. We're back though. So oh, actually, you know what? It did this to me last time I went into. Just hold on there. I'm gonna switch back to the main camera, guys. We should be back. Church is
So
in
we're back.
session. Yes, it is actually okay. So, did you see? I learned something there, Greg, and I learned it actually when I did our video the other day for arc welding. If I go into the settings in Octoprint, it kills my camera connection and drops the frame rate.
Interesting.
Anyway, so I'm not going to go into the settings, guys, but I will say what I was going to say.
Oh,
It
we're dropping again.
Yeah, church is in session, y'all. We might have to take a vote to have 3D printing church like at either an hour earlier, which really hurts my feelings, um, or we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Anyway, remember, if you're having trouble installing a plugin, you are only using Linux, and the plugin manager has a section where you can copy the GitHub link and just put it in there, and then it'll install it outside of the actual manager, or you can go manually you can wget the GitHub package and put it in the plugins folder, and then reboot the Pi. Um, and then that might solve the issue. But yeah, Greg, remember the beeping that I had? Beep,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
beep,
yeah.
beep. That was the same thing. That was the display layer on the Predator. Um, drove my wife nuts because we're lying in bed and then like you beep 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 beep. She really liked it. Let's see what else we got. I think the difference in the microstiff is the PET tube only goes to the top things. The titanium heat, the PFT goes. Yeah. So yes, you are the PTFE tube does go a little bit further down towards the hot zone, but it's still
Still
none.
quite a bit up in it's. It doesn't go all the way to the nozzle like
It's
the
not
stock
butt
one.
up right against it, and that's what
Yeah,
you like. It's E3D, for example, their hot end versus the Micro Swiss hot end does have more PTFE down into the heat zone. It
right.
doesn't go all the way down, and it stops a bit. And I know Ray you has there's one that they sell at the place he works that is kind of like a drop-in replacement throat, and that one does it. The tube goes down quite a ways, but not into the hot zone. That's the
Yeah,
that's the ticket. If the tube doesn't go into the hot zone, you have an all metal solution that's good. And just to follow up to Dominic, if your intent is to print higher temperatures, like 275 to 350 in there, you will probably want to look at getting like the high temp thermistor
yes,
or the thermocouple.
right.
Both work. The the thermistor already has support. In Marlin, with the thermocouple, there's just one line you got to change to make it work.
Yeah, but the thermocouple's really like you have to be, doing like peak or ABS all the time to really take advantage
Yeah,
of the thermocouple. If
yeah,
you're pardon me, if you're just once in a while looking at printing ABS or something, then uh, thermistor's fine.
yep, yeah. Like, in theory, and this is a big in theory, but we've talked about it before. Um, or PTFE tube in general, and even Capricorn tube starts to degrade at about 240 degrees. Um, it doesn't become dangerous to human life until about 260 degrees. But if you have pets around the 250 degree area, is where it can degrade and start,
Off
well,
gassing.
killing your pets basically with neurotoxin. And make no the PTFE, the Teflon, is not like a VOC. It's not like ABS where it will kill you slowly from cancer years after inhaling those VOCs. If you're in the room with it and it's off gassing and you breathe enough of it in,
It's bad.
it's bad news bears, friends.
Yes.
So, moral of the story: if you're printing ABS, enclosure outside, away from you,
Yeah,
some sort of
proper
filtration system.
proper ventilation. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
That's currently why I don't have any of my printers printing ABS. I do want to start printing ABS, but I'm going to have to do it in the summer when
yeah,
I can put it out in the garage.
you'll kill parrots with pet. Yes, you will. You'll kill
Yes.
parrots and budgies and like all the little, sweet little birds. Their poor little lungs can't handle it. Yeah, I've got one printer set up for ABS. That my original Ender, I did ABS on that.
Yeah.
Um, but like I haven't actually printed any.
I don't
Oh
own any
goodness, for three
ABS right
years.
now,
Yeah.
so but the what's funny is the original ANET A8 I have, Bear. Um, the guy printed like 3 days on it and wondered why it wasn't working because he printed ABS on it and it was not designed to do ABS.
Yeah.
And that's how I came to own Bear. Is I rescued him and
If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. You are right, Dominic. If it
or or
doesn't,
get or it gets you a free almost free printer. It was only $100.
that's
So
true, right? And Cam, so Cam says so. The max safe operation of Capricorn is 240. Yes, and I wouldn't say like just Capricorn. Like the maximum safe operation of most of the PTFE tube is around 230 to 240, and then
yeah.
after that you start off gassing. The difference between Capricorn tube and regular tube, or like the stuff I forget the name of it, but Tim over at
There's
TH3D sells like it's called like Super Tube or something like that. But the difference is they won't deform as quickly at those temperatures than just like the regular white stuff does that you got with your printer.
so Cam, we weren't talking about a specific hot end. We were talking about heat breaks, and we were talking about the Slice Engineering heat breaks that you can get to retrofit your existing hot end. So if you don't want to do a complete upgrade to your printer and complete swap out and mod, you can just do a slight change and get this bimetal heat break, which will get you some better performance. And
Yep.
that's what we were talking about earlier, Cam.
And
And by Slice Engineering, like they're not a sponsor.
nope.
If they would like to be a sponsor,
If you
I'm
want to,
sure we would entertain that.
oh yeah.
I'm just saying.
If you want
But
to send us something, we'll check it out.
yeah, but they do have some very solid products out there, so worth taking a look at. I reached out to them because they list the heat break that's available for the CR10, the Ender, and whatnot, but they weren't clear on the CR10 V2 on what heat break was there because they don't list it on their site. But they've since confirmed which one it is, so I'm it's on my list of want to haves.
So Ray, first off, you're welcome, Cam. The Copperhead is what I would buy right now over the Micro Swiss, and that's just because it's newer and I believe in their product. But again, you won't go wrong with a Micro Swiss either. Tried and true. We get that all the time. People say that their filament does not stick to the Ender build plate. That's because they were trying to print ABS with a stock Ender. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
My favorite is it's not even coming out. It's like that's ABS and you can't print it at 190 degrees. It just won't work. I print Petchy at 250 with Capricorn Tubi, and that could explain why my dust bunnies have died.
I like that.
That's brilliant.
Good one, Stig. I like that.
And yeah, I mean, Stiggs is a perfect example. Like, yeah, you can do it, but he's murdered the dust bunnies doing it. No, it's something like, for example, like Greg, I was printing. Remember these things? The shoe rack things.
Oh yeah, the shoe racks.
Yeah. I was printing these things, and they're clear. I'll just show them. Ooh, look how clear and pretty. They're clear Petchy, and I actually made the conscious decision not to print them on the direct drive modded Ender, just because it only had cap tube down the hot end. That's just
Right.
me. But I also have I have 3 printers with all metal on them, so it wasn't like if I had to, I probably would have. But
I have 2 printers with all metal. Bear is all metal, and my Chimera on Bumblebee, which is my Chiron
Mhm.
is all metal. So I have two. So I would like to get the other two all metal and go from there. So it's on my project list,
Yeah.
and so we'll definitely if we end up getting some of those, we'll I'm sure we'll make a quick video on it. Maybe that will because that's not a full video, so maybe that's something we'll throw on Patreon or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah, and if you guys are interested in setting up the micro Swiss hot end, I think like 2 years ago now, I guess. We do,
The copper printing video.
yeah, we do have the, well, we still have the filament. We could give that away as a,
No, don't force. Don't, we'll lose
we'll
people
lose
from
subscribers
watching
that
our
way.
channel.
So Pierre, that's a good question, and he asks, "Do you dry your filament?" I use a dry box, and will try the vacuum at some point. So, Greg, do you dry your filament?
So I keep my filament with lots of desiccant, and I keep it sealed, and I have it in a nice uh, sealable box. I can show you one of the tubs right now. There. I don't know if you want to throw me full screen,
I do.
but but
That's in my
this
power.
is just a little tub, and then in the tub I have a bunch of desiccant, and that's how I store mine. I don't specifically dry my filament. Um, I haven't had too much of an issue. In the Great White North, it's very dry anyway. Um, in the cold weather, it's actually dry outside. Like I'm sure Steak knows this from Norway.
Hmm.
Um, it's when it's cold, there's not a lot of moisture in the air,
Yeah.
so we don't get a ton of humidity. So I haven't had too big of problems. Now, that being said, if you have some really hydroscopic filament that you're printing, yes, keep lots of desiccant, do this. But I have personally have not had to dry any filament, but I am not using nylons, and I'm not using like Peak or ABS. So
Yeah. Yeah, and like my answer to that is no. Um I like I have a box similar to Greg, similar in size, and heck, you guys are tropical down south. Yeah, we are. It's balmy down here. So I have a box similar to Greg's that I keep my PET G, my TPU, and nylon when I have it. And the typical more hygroscopic materials. And then, unlike Greg's box, I tapped it and put a PTFE tube out of it. So if I really didn't want to take like nylon out of the box, it sits on a roller in the box and comes out of it. I printed a bunch of what you call them, filament stands from Devin Montez has one on my mini factory. That's the word I'm looking for, and so that kind of keeps those filaments. And my PLA, I keep in a big box. The box is enough to keep about 40 rolls in it, and then if I open it, it goes in there. And in that box, I just have regular desiccant that comes with the filament, and I dry that out once again. So, do we actively dry it?
no,
No. Do we passively dry it? Yes.
yeah.
When we're not printing with it, and it doesn't need to be sitting on a printer. Now that being said, like, here, hold on, let me see if I can do this. This is experimental thing. You might lose your audio for a second, Greg.
All right.
Um, I can probably put you in here actually. One sec. Add. We're going experimental on this, yo. Add source, Greg, and then let's just move it back there.
I've
There.
thought, Ray, I've thought of buying a dehydrator, but I really haven't had to print any hydroscopic stuff, so I haven't really worried about it yet. So I think I'll consider it like, I've been watching at thrift stores and stuff for old dehydrators, and I might consider it at the time, if the price was right to have it if I do go that route.
Right. So like here's like this is PLA. Okay. But this is where the story gets. There's Petchy, and that Petchy has been on that printer for like 3 weeks, and it's fine. But like Greg, I'll just show you quick here. We're going experimental. Here's where I keep my filament. So there's my open filament, and then I have like the new stuff, and then there up here there's my box with the hygroscopic stuff like the Petchies, and then it has a little tube to come up.
Ray, that's very similar to the box I have from Canadian Tire. So it's very, very similar. It's the one from Canadian Tire has a little gasket around it. So yeah.
If you guys buy a box that doesn't gasket, like just when you're, well, that's what we have. We have the rechargeable, except our desiccant package come from Nerdy Network switches. um, yeah, that's actually the exact box almost I have. The one that I just showed, except I think the handles were darker blue. If you get an ungasketed box and you want to use it because it's nice and big, just buy some of the window trim gasket from like the hardware store and throw it in there. Then it's a gasket.
Yeah.
What do we got? Greg, next time you're up, let me know. I'll show you mine. Hopefully we can come up soon.
Yeah, my parents live right near Spool 3D where Ray works, and so I used to go up there all the time, but I haven't seen them in almost a year, except on like Skype and whatnot with everything going on. But yeah.
So Stig's saying that he's thinking of getting a cheap toaster oven to dry. I've seen success with that, but the dehydrators offer a smooth, constant temperature, whereas I've seen the horror stories of those toaster ovens, the cheap ones, where the heating element's not quite controlled, and you melt the spool and the filament in the oven. But hey, it's always worth a try. You can, if the price is right, try it.
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant because I don't know. You'd almost need more of a convection process rather than a toaster oven, because toaster oven's going to be very warm on two sides or one side, and so that could be a problem. Whereas the reason why the dehydrators are you have your heating source, but then you have a fan that kind of blows around and just drives the air and moves the air around. So that's why they tend to be, I think, a little bit better.
Yep.
So
and I mean, it could be a project toaster, right? You could find a fan that won't melt and put a fan in there and make it a convection.
Yeah. Just don't put a whole spool in there on your first test, because you might get, you might get a solid thing of PLA. So just or whatever you're drying, nylon.
Yeah, I like it. Right? Like, get a blob. Look, guys, I printed a blob. Oh, I should show. Let's see here. Is it this one? Yeah. Hold on, guys. So I was printing some Petchy the other day, and this happened. So I'm just gonna screen share it in a second. So I had the privilege of being greeted by the great and powerful spaghetti monster.
Oh, I love the spaghetti monster.
Post some pictures up in the Facebook group, Ray. Then we can take a peek. If you look at the spaghetti monster that has formed from the awesomeness that is this picture.
I'm not seeing it yet on the screen. So
yeah,
it's delayed.
Just gonna
there it is.
Give it a second. There, yeah. So you'll notice that this particular spaghetti monster that graced the print bed is actually full-sized filament.
Uh-oh, your PTFE tube popped out.
Yes, sir. So this is a lesson in maintenance. I'm just gonna switch back to
So
the
so
normal
you're
camera here.
so I'm assuming you were able to re-roll it back on the tube.
Actually, no. So what happened? That happened, and I came downstairs and I was like, "Whoa, that sucks." Thankfully, it was on a print that was gonna run out of filament anyway, and I wasn't here to, fix it. But the filament went under the printer, and the wheels creased it between the rollers and the filament, so it actually broke it in several places.
Oh,
So,
oh well.
and then it was a tangled mess, and it was about 150 grams of filament, so it wasn't terribly. But that just goes to
I was
show you.
printing. I was printing a couple weeks ago, and print broke free, and it was the perfect color to be Ronald McDonald's hair.
You made a Ronald.
Yeah, it totally could have been a wig. I should have put it on and took a picture.
Love it. The So I guess the moral of the story here for everybody, and Greg and I, always check that your PTFE tube is seated into the coupler. The best and easiest time to do this is when you change filament,
Yeah,
because
check your basic maintenance.
yeah, just push the coupler in at the extruder, push it down at the hot end, because that spaghetti monster came out of a micro Swiss all metal hot end. So it wasn't like that was the original Creality hot end, and we all just blame Creality for making a cheap hot end. No, that was the micro Swiss. If it wasn't PETG, Dominic, it would have been 3D printer or 3D pen ammo, but it was PETG. So
Just an update on the arc welded print that I'm doing on my printer. It's still going. So I don't know. I turned on arc support.
it could have it. We'll have to check your firmware after. Stigas, could a Peltier cooler be used to dry filament? And absolutely, it could. You could thermostatically control the temperature of the pad. You could even use a thermistor, right, and just tape it to the side of the pad that's heating.
Yeah.
And at the same time, as a bonus, you could cool your drink. So have one side for your filament heating, and then insulate the other side as a fridge, right? And then it's good.
Yeah,
I
like
so.
it.
I like it.
Okay, you're reusing and not wasting any resources.
That's almost perpetual energy.
Yeah.
No. No, it is not.
So just before we finish up here, because the time has flown by.
It has today. Wow.
Anyone else have any questions? We've been trying to get to them as we go through, and we've had some really good ones. But if there's any burning questions, and please feel free to pop them in chat, and don't forget to like the video too, because that always helps the YouTube gods.
Yes, we need to get better at saying that at the beginning of the video. Make sure to like it. But hey, green to the bone. Yeah. If you guys don't know, Peltier coolers get really warm on one side, and as a side effect, they get cool on the other. And generally, like, lots of guys make cooling units out of them, not just heating units. So it's kind of a reverse use, and I love it.
I've seen them in little tiny fridges that you can put a single can of pop in. so they keep the pop cold, and then they have a fan on the other side blowing heat.
I love it. Stig says, or you could use the cold side to cool your stepper drivers. You could. That'd be yeah. I would like to see that. I'm not going to do it, but I would like to see it.
I'd be a little concerned about
freezing them.
Moisture buildup and defrosting, and
totally.
and
yep.
and whatnot. So that's also one of those things like, do you do water cooling on a 3D printer? Uh, maybe not.
Well, I mean, E3D has that water cooled one, right?
Yeah.
Cam, you got this. So Cam says he's installing a 1.4 turbo in it today.
Oh, you got it all picked up. Did you get the 2209s or the 2208s?
Your config was fairly good from before, so you should be able to just change the board and then the drivers and drop it in.
Just remember, if you're doing the 2209s and you're not doing sensorless homing, you got to cut the one pin.
Well, that's okay.
Or bend it.
Yeah, I watched a thing actually too where you don't actually have to cut it if you weren't going to reuse that pin in the firmware. Um, but it does reuse that pin for something in the end, or I forget what it was now. With temperature difference of 60°C, it can be really cold. It can be really cold. Yeah, I got 2209s there.
Yeah. So just remember, you gotta clip that one pin if you're not doing the sensorless homing.
If you're running peak, water works great. Okay, here's a question, and it's probably the last one of the day.
I can't afford peak.
Yeah, who here has printed peak? So, has anybody here printed peak?
Nope.
Cam says, huh? So on the 2209 driver, you have your pins that are side by side, and then there's two going this way. If you're not going to use
Let me
sensorless
see.
homing, Greg might have one.
I don't know if I have a 2209 that's. Let me look. What is this one? Is this a 2209?
Could be.
No, this one's a.
Yeah, peak and Altum
This is a
are expensive.
2208, but
I'll make you full screen. Hold on.
so this is a 2208, but there's let me just get a pointer. Oh. So on the 2209, there's these two diag pins right here. And it's in the instructions, but you actually have to cut off, if you're not doing sensorless homing, you have to cut off the pin that goes right here. If you don't, what happens is you're still sending the diagnostic data, and it conflicts with the reuse of that one pin. So just keep that in mind. Whereas the 1.3 board, you actually just changed a little stepper or jumper, and so you didn't need to cut the pin. It's only with the 1.4 or 1.4 turbo that you need to cut that pin. So just keep that in mind.
That's true too. You can resolder them.
Yeah, you could desolder them. You could also bend. I've heard people have good luck by bending it so that it sticks out this way, and then when they put it in, but there's only so much room in those boards, so I'm not sure I'd trust the bending. But you could always put in, if you decide to go sensorless homing later, you could always solder some new pins in. So it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
It was very painful for me to cut those pins.
Remember when I cut pins on a 2208, and then I'm like, oh, now I gotta resolder.
Yes.
Dang.
Yeah, but yeah. So just be aware of that when you're getting that going.
Cam's using the VL Touch. Yeah.
And Stig said there's some 2209s with step zip. So the Fly 2209s, so Fly Mellow have 2209s that actually have a dip switch on them that you flip the switch down and it turns off that pin, so you don't have to cut it. But that's on the RepRap Fly Mellow has that set up, which is kind of cool. I don't know if they're 100% compatible with the Big Tree Tack or not, but they're kind of neat. So.
Yeah, that's something we might have to look at too. But
Yep.
well, guys and ladies and gentlemen and friends, it is now time for us to say goodbye.
It
So,
is.
goodbye. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for everyone joining us, and see you in Discord if you're there.
Yeah.
And thanks again, Stig, for being the very first Patreon member.
Yeah. And the link for Patreon will be in the description of this video if you guys want to check it out.
All right.
All right. You guys take her easy.
Bye.
Bye.